Hello there. Come in, take a seat. You join me in my summer house, which has been long abandoned because it's got mould in it. And I don't know how to beat the mould. I've put new felt on the roof to keep the water out because there was water getting in down the back walls and stuff here. But we're getting patches of mould appearing, and I'd like to make this summer house into like a studio space, you know, or like a usable space. I could do things in here, but there's mould everywhere. I would show you this chair, but I don't want to touch it because it's covered in mould. But I'm not the most smart man when it comes to home improvements or fixing things. If you know how to fix mould in a summer house, please let me know in the comments. Speaking of not being smart, after I pulled out that old Xbox from the loft in that previous video you saw, it got me thinking back to 20-year-old me and what his plans were and where I am now. Back when I was 20 years old, I knew exactly where I was going to be and what I was going to do. I was young, I was single. My plan was to start my own security company. Let me get a seat. I'm not going to sit there because it's manky. I'm going to go get a seat from outside. Oh, here we go. Old knees, you see, old man. So yeah, 20-year-old Scott was a good guy, magnificent guy, lovely hair. Like a young but slightly chubbier Patrick Swayze. You know, the Roadhouse Swayze, the good Swayze. That was Scott back then. Debonair, suave. Worked as a bouncer for many years. I was a big lad. I still am a big lad, but I was competing in strongman. I was a big guy. I was a bouncer, as generically, you know, I'm going to be at this kind of size and this very much a Crime Watch E-fit face. And back then I thought, you know what I'm going to do when I'm 50 or be when I'm 50? I'm going to be living in a big house, big car. I'm going to run my own security company. I had big plans to take over doors and venues and clubs in and around the city and the Shire and stuff. But then I saw friends of mine who did the same thing, and some of them did really well. Some of them are still great guys, still in that industry and still working in security, who are great guys. A lot of respect for them. Some, however, turned into massive dicks within, you know, a very short period of time of running these security companies. And I didn't want that for me, you know. I didn't want to be that guy that was going to be the dickhead to his friends. And I enjoyed bouncing. I enjoyed being that guy, young, Swayze haircut. Enjoyed being that guy, but, you know, I just couldn't be the man who was in charge of things back then. Didn't really work out for me, and I then left that and fell into a career in the paper mills. So did some work at the paper mills for a while, was there for about 7 years and a bit, hated the job, hated it. It was don't get me wrong, some nice people there, a lot of dickheads there as well, but some nice people. It wasn't the worst place, but it was a terrible job. You know, constantly grimy, slimy, and horrible, and, you know, there was lots of politicking and cliques, and, you know, if you weren't in with the right crowd, you were out. And I just didn't like it. And eventually then, I got a job, and what was my dream job was working in a whiskey distillery, and that was absolutely, I was there. I had hit a point, I was making some good money, I had a good job. I had 2 jobs, in fact. I was working at the distillery, but also working as an on-call firefighter, which I've been for the last nearly a decade. Loved the both jobs, and I thought, that's me now. Met my wife, had no marriage plans. However, older Scott, of course, got married. Didn't have the Swayze haircut anymore. I don't know why she fell for me, because that was a real game changer. Then, you know, male pattern baldness and psoriasis took away all that majestic hair, and now look at me. I look like, again, like you would see me on a bit of paper in a shop window saying this guy is banned from every bar and pub in about a 15-mile radius. So yeah, met my wife, got married, you know, we, beautiful, we bought our first home, small place, 2 bedrooms. We had a garden for the first time ever, it was amazing. I had my 2 jobs, which I loved, you know, it was the best thing. But like the best laid plans of mice and men always kind of fall sour. Eventually, as time went by, the whiskey industry got hurt by COVID, overproduced, undersold. And distilleries now, even now, all across Scotland are closing down and cutting back numbers. I was laid off. I was made redundant broke my heart. I was really devastated by that one because it was my dream job. It's like a 2-minute walk from my house. I had good friends there, people I loved, and suddenly to be told, hey, we're scaling down, here's a lump of cash, pat on the butt, see you later. And then was left in the wild again for a while. Got a job elsewhere for a big brewing company, didn't really like that at all. Again, great people, terrible job, terrible hours was the main thing, really miserable for myself. And then I fell into a job working as an instructor. Saw a job advertised, a fire safety instructor. I had a background already in firefighting, so I knew what I was talking about. And then it turns out that I'm not a bad wee, gobshite, pardon my French. I can speak nonsense for time to a classroom full of people who don't want to be there. I explained them how to put the wet stuff on the burny stuff. And it's become a job that I really, really enjoy, I really, really love as well too. So, I've now come to a point where my wife and I have 2 kids. We've got a bigger home now as well too, with a summer house full of mould, which I don't know how to fix. Somebody please help me, because I don't want to tear it down, because then there'll be a big space here. I can't afford to build a new one. Just, can we fix this one? Wife, 2 kids, 2 amazing kids, 2 young kids. I've got 3 kids in total, 2 young kids here. 2 amazing young kids who are developing into some of the best people I've ever met. And then I hit 50. And then looking back, I'm thinking, yeah, I wasn't supposed to be here. This wasn't the plan. Now look at me. I'm 50 years old. I'm now living in a great house, 2 great jobs, great family, kids, and I'm happy. And I can't argue with that. My phone's ringing. I'm going to ignore that though, because I'm speaking to you first and foremost. So yeah, young Scott was naive. He was beautiful. Oh, magnificent. The hair was something else. But he had no idea of what I was to become. His plans are different from where I am now. This isn't where I should have been, but thank goodness I am here, because in reflection, it could have been far worse. So really what I've realised is 20-year-old Scott wasn't stupid. He was writing a plan, whereas 50-year-old Scott is living a life, and it's a good life, and I'm happy with it. And you should be too. It's too easy to look back in our lives and realise, this wasn't how things were supposed to work out. Sometimes things aren't supposed to work out. Life throws you hurdles. Life throws you things in the way, like being made redundant. Life throws you little traps or down parts or, hurdles, but we are who we are, and we can only be the best we can be with what we have. And I'm happy with who I am and what I have. I've got a great family. I've got people who love me. I've got kids who I adore and who adore me both. I've got a wife who's amazing, who is the best mum and the best wife I could ask for. I have a good life. I've got good friends. I've got a summer house, which is full of mould, but we'll work on that. I maybe shouldn't breathe too much, because I pull in the spores and start sprouting, mushrooms. So beautiful here. Just want to say that, guys. So don't look back on young you and think he was wrong. He had a plan. You have a life. Love you. See you in the next video.